Ice Rink Cave Nightmare, May 25, 2003. Chris Molyneux, 36, took his wife and 3 kids, ages 7, 4, and 18 months, to explore Ice Rink Cave in Washington. He had entered other lava tubes before and thought this one would be another easy trip. He got the cave's coordinates from a caving forum. The plan was simple: a short hike, quick underground explore, and back home by dinner. Chris carried the map, spare batteries, 2 backup lights, and slipped the car keys into his pocket. He decided to scout the entrance alone before bringing in his family. The passage got narrower as he went down. Around 100 feet in, he hit a tight crawl space only 18 inches high. He pushed through it, thinking he was heading toward the main chamber with the ice formation. On the other side, the tunnel branched. He chose left, expecting to exit from the large entrance he saw on the map. But the tunnel kept going much farther than expected. Then came a breakdown. Collapsed ceiling and rocks not shown on the map. Eventually, he found what looked like an exit, but it was sealed by dirt and debris. No sunlight. It didn't match the map at all. He turned around and walked back the way he came. But after walking for several minutes, he arrived at another collapsed exit, identical to the one he had just left. Confused, he scratched an X in the dirt and walked in the opposite direction. About 400 steps later, he saw the same X. That's when he realized he was walking in circles. He searched the walls carefully, looking for the crawlway he came through. Nothing. He checked again. Still, nothing. Hours passed. He tore pieces of his map and left them as markers, trying to keep track. The cave felt like it was shifting. He started sweating, even though it was cold. His light seemed dimmer. His heart beat faster. He sat down, tried to remember if he had turned left or right after the crawl. He wasn't sure anymore. He walked the loop again, then again. The same rocks, the same formations. Everything looked the same now. 5 hours had passed. He began shouting, but the cave swallowed the sound. He sobbed on the floor, his headlamp shaking in his hand. "Please," he whispered, "I need to get out. My family needs me." Then, he stood up and walked to the collapsed exit again, this time checking the base of the wall, inch by inch. 50 feet away, he saw something, a shadow that didn't match the rest. He crouched, an opening, just 18 inches high. He had walked past it over and over without noticing. He dropped to his knees and crawled through. On the other side was the original tunnel. A few minutes later, he stepped into daylight. The sun burned his eyes. The forest looked unreal. His car was there. His wife had taken the children and hiked back to the road. She had found help. Just as he exited the cave, rescue teams were arriving. That cave would later be nicknamed Minotaur Cave, because inside it, Chris had been trapped in a perfect loop. Midnight Creek Cave Incident. On May 11, 1996, a team of 11 experienced cavers and government safety experts entered Midnight Creek Cave in California. The cave had been closed since 1994 because of dangerous levels of hydrogen sulfide in the water. The group went in to test for gas and evaluate conditions. The team split into smaller groups. Richard, Colin O'Neill, Kurt Wexel, and Renee Van Ruick were part of one team. They placed gas detectors and took water samples. At first, everything went as planned. On the way back, Richard stepped on a moss-covered rock. It looked solid, but he slipped and fell into a narrow vertical chute. His lamp went out as he dropped. The shaft was just 3 feet wide. He landed in a twisted position with his head below water. His legs were bent upward, and his chest was pressed between the walls. He tried to lift his head to breathe, but the water kept pouring into his nose and mouth. His muscles began to shake from the effort. Above him, Colin saw the fall and rushed to help, but he also slipped and fell into the chute. The impact pushed Richard down even further. Colin called for help. Renee and Kurt came quickly. They pulled Colin out, but Richard was still trapped. His body was stuck deep, and the water kept rising around his face. He gasped for air, but couldn't hold his head up for long. The water choked him again and again. They tried to pull him out from above, but the chute was too tight. Pushing him from above caused more pain. His shoulder hit the rocks, and his legs twisted badly. They checked their maps to look for another way. They found a possible passage below the chute and went to try it. Meanwhile, Richard's condition got worse. His lips turned blue. He could barely breathe. He started shaking and coughing. Every movement hurt. Renee and Kurt reached the bottom of the chute through a narrow water-filled tunnel. From below, they saw Richard. Colin grabbed Richard's legs. Renee and Kurt pushed from below. Together, they slowly moved him upward. Inch by inch, his body shifted. Finally, his torso came free. Colin pulled him out of the chute and onto a ledge. Richard collapsed, breathing heavily. He was cold and hurt, but alive. Richard had a dislocated shoulder and could barely see. He was the only one who knew the cave well. Without his glasses, he had to rely on memory to guide the others out. They moved slowly. The passages were tight and confusing. The group stayed close, helping where they could. After hours of crawling, they finally reached the surface. Richard's quick rescue depended on teamwork. Fourth River Cave Rescue. On June 2, 2004, 9 teenagers entered Tongue River Cave in Wyoming. Barry Blaha and Dana Herbert, both 16, led the group. None had caving experience. They carried flashlights, a few headlamps, and spare batteries, but no helmets or proper equipment. They entered in single file. The main passage was wide, allowing easy movement with plenty of room for the entire group to spread out and explore different sections of the cave. As they progressed, they explored side tunnels. Some led to dead ends. The cave walls showed signs of erosion, but they continued. Barry spotted a narrow crack not marked on any map. He and Dana decided to enter it. They squeezed through sections that required crawling and eventually belly crawling. The passage narrowed to about 45 centimeters wide and 60 centimeters tall. Barry led the way. Barry reached a point where the tunnel became too tight to pass. Instead of turning back, he tried to clear the way using a rock as a hammer. He struck larger rocks ahead, causing dust and vibrations. After several strikes, a large crack echoed. A 300-pound boulder fell from above and sealed the passage behind Dana. Barry was trapped ahead of the boulder. Dana was wedged between it and Barry's feet. Their friends attempted to move the rock but couldn't. Some returned to the surface and called emergency services. Sheridan County rescue teams arrived with winches and hydraulic tools. Due to the cave's narrowness, only 1 or 2 rescuers could work at a time. They carefully installed equipment to avoid triggering further collapse. After several hours, the rescuers managed to shift the boulder. Barry and Dana were extracted with difficulty. They exited the cave around 10:30 p.m., nearly 8 hours after entering. If you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like.